Unfortunately, the time has come for me to defend a mobile game made by a massive corporation. I know, I'm sad about it too. So for those of you not aware, Nintendo recently shadow dropped a Fire Emblem spin-off. As in, they were like, hey, this exists, it's out right now, goodbye! And just no other marketing or anything. Ever since then, the immediate knee-jerk general reaction I've seen from Fire Emblem fans is that it's an affront to God, and that the council should banish it to exile. But I've waited a few weeks to make a video on it, so then I could take some time and really form an opinion on it. And don't get me wrong, I get it. Because is it Fire Emblem? Not really. Does it have a bunch of microtransactions that's trying to milk your money out of you? Yeah. Does it offer an experience you can't live without? I'd be hard-pressed to say yes. But, I tried it, and I did kind of have fun, and I want to explain what I liked about it. Very quickly, for those who don't know, I want to run down on how the game plays. So in each match, you have 3 players. Each of them has a single unit that represents them. Your unit moves and attacks automatically on a timer, as do the enemy units. And your main input are the spells you can deploy onto the field, and you can see which players deploy which spells, but one person in the group is the traitor, and also has 2 shadow spells they can deploy that are on a separate timer, and you can't see who placed them. You just see a sort of shadowy marker. After the first round, the Light Disciples need to guess who the Shadow Disciple is based on everyone's behavior and how they use their spells. If it seemed like they weren't trying very hard to help your teammates, they might be a traitor. Or they might just be bad at the game. It's up to you to decide what the difference is. If they guess correctly, or if they survive the first round, it will determine how powerful they are for the second round, in which the Shadow Disciple gets powered up and fights the 2 Light Disciples. And then whoever wins the second round is the overall winner of the match. I think part of the disgust for the game comes from, well, in mainline Fire Emblem, a single chapter is like a whole ordeal, so a match being so short can feel like, that was it? That was 2 minutes of cookie clicker! But also, the tutorial is admittedly pretty slow, so people got partway through and took it as a confirmation of their suspicion that the game is shit. But I do think once things get rolling, there's interesting stuff here. And it takes maybe an hour to get to the interesting part of the game, and I've played plenty of games with much longer startup times than that, like Persona 5, Hollow Knight, most Monster Hunter games. Hell, even some of my favorite mainline Fire Emblem games are pretty boring for the first couple hours. So I want to talk about what I found beneath the very surface level. The big thing to note is that matches are extremely fast, and I really like that. It's just 2 or 3 minutes where you have to really pay attention to the details, who's casting what, and also try to be smart about your own spells. In terms of social deduction, there's definitely people you'll match with who still don't really know how to play the traitor well and actually deceive the others, and just use the shadow spells to nuke the other 2 and leave themselves alone. But a smart traitor will also target themselves with their own shadow spells to make it look like they're getting attacked by someone else, or actually try to protect their allies to make themselves look like a disciple of light, with the goal of getting the other 2 players to point the fingers at each other, and not you. The reason this is important is because if they guess right, then they will get 2 revives for the second round instead of just 1, and if they were beaten by the monsters in the first round, then it automatically takes one of them to bring them back up for the second. So if they go down in round 1, and they guess wrong, then they have basically no room for error in round 2. But if they don't go down and they guess right, they have a huge advantage on round 2. So despite all the memes about Fire Emblem Among Us, the similarities kind of start and end at their being an imposter, or Shadow Disciple, or whatever you want to call the sussy baka. As for the actual strategic combat, the tutorial and opening spells are very underwhelming, but as you unlock more options and get more things, you can pull off more interesting plays, pushing and pulling characters to get your allies out of the way of enemy attacks. I've seen crazy stuff from warp abilities, like swapping yourself with an enemy to get out of an AoE attack that's coming in, and putting the enemy in its way instead. Because your spells have a cooldown period, maybe you don't just want to deploy things willy-nilly. Maybe you think an enemy damage spell is coming up and you wait for them to deploy it so then you can heal yourself. Maybe you stack up that character's loadout with multiple spells that are really strong but only have 1 use. So then you don't have great longevity, but the goal is to just burst down the enemy and overwhelm them. Maybe you fit some characters for AoEs for big crowd damage and fit other characters with single target spells. And different characters you can choose in the game each have a sort of unique skill that sort of gives them their own kind of utility that no other character can replicate. Maybe this is me like licking the bottom of an empty barrel looking for any level of strategy, but I don't know. I find it stimulating to my brain. Maybe I'm just like, I don't want to say stupid because that's not how I think about myself, but like hard difficulty engage is like way too much for me. So I don't know. Maybe y'all's brains are just on a different level from mine. A lot of people don't like the system where your units move without your input, which is fair, but I would like to point out that pretty much any other attempt at Fire Emblem PvP has been not particularly successful. The traditional Fire Emblem system is definitely designed for a single-player experience, so I honestly don't think controlling your units in this game would make it any more fun or interesting, you know? The short matches do, to an extent, put a limit on the amount of strategic depth to the game, but I think there's more here than people give it credit for, with the spells you select and the character you go with. You aren't going to be worrying about precise stats and damage values like in mainline Fire Emblem games, and you aren't going to have 10-minute matches where people are shouting at each other like Among Us or Town of Salem. And if that's a downside for you, I get it. It's just a different kind of game, and I think it's unfair to have the same expectations as just something else in the genre, you know? It's a new, unique creation. Like, you can't look at any Souls-like, let's say like Lies of P, right? Be like, do I play it like Bloodborne, or do I play it like Sekiro, or do I play it like Dark Souls? You play it like Lies of P. You don't play Fire Emblem Shadows the same way as traditional Fire Emblem, or the same way as Among Us. You play it like Fire Emblem Shadows. Then again, most of you probably get that, and I'm out here screaming to the cloud watching club that the sky is blue, but I like to think that maybe this comparison helps that one person in the club who thought the goal was to dig to the center of the earth. There is a little detail I want to mention about progression in the game, because I really like how it's handled. Basically, beyond the few default spells, everything you unlock has its power level associated with a specific character, and then leveling up that character also levels up that spell. So if like some variant of Elwind is level 4, it's because the character it's associated with is also level 4. Now, every character can still use every single spell, with the exception of everyone's unique skills. And so the purpose of this system is so then, if you want to upgrade a skill, you have to upgrade the associated character. And how do you upgrade the associated character? By just playing as them for a while, and getting the associated little character medals, and then you upgrade them in all their spells. What I like about this is that it does encourage you to try out all the characters you unlock and bounce between them instead of just sticking to a single one that you like. This isn't a huge deal, but I was emotionally prepared to do that thing that I do in like Elden Ring, where I pick one weapon and then I'm married to it for the rest of my life. So I appreciate it. I think it's nice. There's also a weapon customization system with like infusions and stuff that I've barely even touched. I don't know if there's a whole lot of like actual strategy to it, but I feel like there could be. There very easily could be. Now, there is a sort of level imbalance sometimes. I've noticed every now and then that I'll get matched with people who I just sort of destroy in one shot with my spells. Like, I'll be the Shadow Disciple, and we'll get to the second round, and I'll just nuke both of them instantly. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm getting matched with level 1 people, and I have like level 3 or 4 spells, but it's not fun for me because there's no back and forth, and I can only assume it's not fun for them for the same reason. Maybe they need to decrease how much a level up gives a character or a skill just all around. Maybe it's a matchmaking issue. I'm not sure what the problem is on the back end. I just don't like it when this happens. A few other issues I have, there are some general balance issues, like summoning lots of minions as the Shadow Disciple in the second round is really, really powerful because of action economy. You can just overwhelm the Light Disciples super easily. The Ice Block summoning character is really annoying too. It just messes up the targeting of both sides and makes rounds last so much longer. Second, it's kind of tedious when you go to a new character to use them for the first time, and then you have to swap out all of their spells. Like, okay, I have to go to the Light Disciple spell loadout and change out all the spells for both rounds, and then I have to go to the Shadow Disciple version of that character and swap out all the spells for both rounds, and it's not a big deal. It's just kind of obnoxious, especially when you've done it multiple characters in a row. Lastly, there is a pretty notable lack of content in game modes. There's only a little over a dozen unlockable characters, and the only way to play is the one game mode I've described. There's no other sort of alternative modes or twists on the gameplay you can have. That's the one. I assume work on the game will continue given that it is a live service title. These are things that will probably be fixed with time and content and balance updates. Or maybe not. Maybe they just won't fix it. But I like to believe that good things can happen in the world. That is probably a controversial statement, but I'll stick to it. Some other miscellaneous things. I do like the art direction generally. I'm not an artist who knows how to make a good character design, so I don't really know how to express that opinion in a more complicated way, but despite all the memes about furry Emblem, the concept of the traders transforming into a sort of beast form or werewolf mode is really cool to me, and I think it opens a lot of fun potential for character designs in the future. There is a story in this game, and it's fine. I honestly just don't care about it, and I haven't read through most of it, but it's serviceable, I guess. I don't know. I'm more compelled by the idea of putting this funny raven guy through situations in my head, as opposed to whatever the plot actually has going on in it. Which, to be fair, that's the case for a lot of games I play. Normally, music and audio and voiceover is something I care about a lot in a game, but because this is a phone game, I normally play it with the sound off, so this isn't really something I can comment on. From the little I have played with the sound on, it's not bad. It's solid. I just don't have anything really special to say about it, to be honest. And of course, before I end this off, I do need to mention the monetization. It is, of course, a free-to-play game, and it has a battle pass, and it has some microtransactions. So there are some elements of FOMO and trying to attract people with shiny buttons and stuff and characters and yada yada. So it has the potential to be predatory for sure. Well, I'm gonna be honest, the game has done a pretty bad job of conveying what exactly I would even want to be buying. I guess there are some optional cosmetics, but they don't look super interesting, and I don't think I'd ever even notice them. I don't know if it's to unlock characters faster or get new weapons and spells. I don't really know. I have also definitely seen people online call this a gacha game, which is just not true at all. There's no randomized slot machine element to this game for obtaining characters. Just play the game a bunch, and you'll get all the characters that are available. Overall, Fire Emblem Shadows is definitely not some secret Game of the Year contender or anything. It's fine. But also, it's not some secret hell spawn or doomsday bomb either. It's fine. I definitely saw people, especially within the first few hours of release, going a bit too far with it. I normally try my best to make videos that aren't just all I'm saying is that the game is mid and not that remarkable. I try to avoid that, but I think it's warranted here because, I don't know, this game is not making the world a worse place for having existed. It's not stealing food from orphans or anything. And I think it's worth everybody taking a step back and actually give things like this a fair shot. And if you feel like you're losing your cool about it, pause a moment and analyze if you feel this way for a well-founded and well-researched reason, or if you just want something to scream at right now. I can assure you, there's plenty of that second one to go around. You're not going to run out of opportunities. And if you play the game for multiple hours and you still don't like it, that's fine. I just thought I'd offer a perspective that I feel like has been kind of the minority, at least in the circles that I run in personally. I guess my message for this video is just chill out, drink less coffee, and get back to that self-help podcast you've only made it through the first 15 minutes of. You'll thank yourself for it.